The Weekly starts now.
The National Home Quality Award is not a beauty contest where builders can write their way in an application to win a trophy or a plaque. It's more like a mirror and a roadmap. Filling out the application is the mirror. Builders describe that exercise as holding a mirror up to their company. Just going through the questions is a self-assessment that can reveal what your company is lacking and what it is doing well. The roadmap is the site visit and feedback report written by judges, typically fellow builders from operations that previously won gold, the highest level of recognition for NHQ. Their observations and recommendations have helped applicants embark on their own path for continuous improvement. 4 builders were selected as 2021 winners of the home building industry's highest award for total quality management. They're going to tell us why they applied and what value they received from completing the application, from the site visits, and the feedback report.
I think when we first put in the application, we thought maybe it would be fairly straightforward. I wouldn't say easy, but fairly straightforward. But it's like peeling the layers of an onion, right? You go deeper and deeper and deeper, and you learn more and more about yourself. But as a result, we learned so many very actionable takeaway things for improvement, which is really what we were after to begin with. We want to be the best, and this path has led us in that direction for certain.
For me, it was much more of, we knew we were growing, we knew we were rapidly changing. I didn't think I would get a site visit, but I did feel like I wanted the validation that we're going in the right direction. We're not there yet, but we're hoping that the path and where our vision of where we're going is in the right direction, and we're focusing on the right things.
I think the biggest thing, you were a small company and we're family run. And we've always been run, by a Hancock family member for 50 years. So we're used to doing things our way.
Yeah.
And to then look at things and say, hey, there's a lot of other ways to do it, and other people are doing things differently, and then how do we measure up to those people? And what are the things that we're not looking at? I mean, to me, that was the eye-opener. Looking certainly where I thought our deficiencies were in the application is these KPIs, the metrics and the things that a lot of large companies use, and really, because they're public companies, probably measure to and perform to. We've never bothered even looking at. We look at, we're so product driven. But 2 years ago, Mark, my husband, wanted to set a new 5-year vision. And he wanted something that was kind of unifying for our company as a whole, and that everybody could get behind and kind of unite for, like that big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah.
And he brought up NHQ, and he said, we're going to win the NHQ in 5 years. And so we all thought, okay, great. What's involved in that? No big deal. We'll apply, because we've won all these other awards for product. And we got that application, and I looked at it, and I was like, holy shyster.
Yeah.
That's a lot. There's a lot in this. And I went back to my husband. I said, are you sure you don't want to change your goal? He said, absolutely not. So what I learned is that it was intense. It was a lot of work. It was, but it was very unifying for our company. We got every department involved and everybody united behind it.
I mean, you look at just the application process. First of all, you have a whole litany of questions that you have to be able to answer and keep it within 20 pages.
Good luck, yeah.
Right? So right away, you have to be concise, you have to be precise, and you have to really kind of hone in on what's most important or what you think is most important. So doing the application in 2017, doing it in 2019, and we'll do it again in probably 21, that really gives the validation to the team, and also really says that the team comes up with it on their own, right? Because each department, so to speak, within Hubble Homes helps write that application and helps do that. So they're working with their teams, and so we all know right away, okay, this is a red light situation. We need to really focus in on these specific items. And again, it's before you even get the feedback, your team already knows. And it validates the good things and the accomplishments you've made over the last several years, but it also really highlights, okay, this is where the next steps need to go.
In our business plan this year, in our fiscal year, it starts November 1st, and our goals that we've set for the year, and then our first quarter rocks, not just for the entire organization, but for our departments. It's littered with areas for improvement that were identified through the NHP process long before we received the report. Just spending the 2 days with the judges, having them here evaluating our business, asking us really deep questions, deep questions that were 3 or 4 layers deep, gave us so many different takeaways. We circled up after that meeting. We went into a conference room and whiteboarded all the feedback that we all remember from what we learned and what the feedback and this just the good questions that uncovered areas for improvement. And then we used that information in part to build our 2021 plan. And then to see the report come in, and it echoed what we actually had realized through that 2-day experience with the judges, and didn't have a lot to add because we already received the feedback in person. And that was extremely valuable for us. And one example of that would be, you talked about processes, and that was brought up. We have all our processes are documented, but to take it to the next level, it's really being intentional about that. It's the process of how you document your processes, and then a goal for this year in a rock, the first quarter is to in a very intentional way go through and ensure we have every one of our processes in our organization documented, and we feel like we're probably 80% of the way there. But now we're taking, based off the feedback, we're taking the step to ensure that we are there.
I feel like I'm really proud of our processes. We're very process driven, and process management is good. I feel like even with that's really good. The judges were able to point out how we don't really have the metrics to track it, or the metrics to analyze the process of how well it is working. We had always said the process is working when we don't have problems, and whatnot. But we're really tracking. You're going to have problems. You're not going to be able to please everybody. So are you changing the process because it's not meeting your metrics, or are you changing the process because one customer is not happy about something? And that really gave me the idea of how we need to put metrics in our processes to validate them.
It's kind of like when you're running, right? You first learn to walk, and you jog, and then you run, right? You don't just start running day one as a toddler. So for us, we're kind of in that progression of becoming a refined elite running athlete, so to speak. And so I look at it as part of the process. We first have to identify the issues and where they're at, right? Once you have identified those, then you can start to attack it within the process and refine what those processes are. So take, for example, we do a quality inspection before the homeowner comes into the final part of their home. There was a lot of blue tape, right? And for us, it was, as we moved down that progression, the first step is, I'm glad we found all of that blue tape, right? So at least we're checking it, we're seeing it, we know it's happening. But that next step is, okay, how do you make sure that you don't have as much blue tape at the end, right? So you can document, identify those issues, and start to build that in the process all throughout the build of the home. So I totally agree with that comment. It's just, what stage are we at in our natural progression to be an elite home builder?
The things that I think that we saw we could improve on are those metrics. We don't use, or we haven't used some of those metrics because we didn't frankly find them to be that important. As long as we were profitable, making our buyers happy and selling them houses, it seemed like that was it. But there's so many things you can do in measuring those things. Like they talked about slippage. We're like, what's slippage? It never rains in Arizona. I don't slip. and anyway, when we looked through, all those things and started analyzing, well, yeah, if we did measure that, could that improve the bottom line even more? And so those are the kind of things that I think are super helpful. Another thing that I think we really saw that was helpful is keeping our trades informed. Like we go to great efforts to meet with our employees regularly and to tell them what's going on and what's coming up ahead for us. But we haven't looped our trade partners in necessarily in that loop to say, hey, we've got these 5 deals in escrow that we're, land deals that will be coming on the pipeline in a year to 2 years. And I think it would be helpful, and we're definitely doing that now as a result of this survey, is like looping those trade partners in on what our plans are.
One of the things we've done since the NHQ visit is we've shifted our focus more onto quarterly rocks to execute versus annual rocks. And we're actually, I agree with the feedback they got that strategy is a strong point for us. We look at 10 years, 3 years, 1 year, and then previously we would set 1 year rocks. And so we would focus on those throughout the entire year. Now we've really boiled it down quarter by quarter, which really gives a really high degree of accountability and urgency on every rock. And we're fairly hopeful that that's actually going to help us catalyze a little more action sooner instead of having the rocks or the goals push out until the last couple months of the year.
I do think we would have been able to identify these areas for improvement without going through this journey. I even said like every blind squirrel will find a nut every once in a while. But it would have been a long and difficult, challenging journey to reinvent the wheel that these judges were able to develop in their businesses and show with ours. They've already had the roadmap, and this journey allowed us to overcome these hurdles much more quickly because NHQA has given us a roadmap to show us the way today, tomorrow, and in the future. We can prepare for the hurdles ahead instead of reacting to them as when we reach them. So I feel like it was it expedited and sped up our course of building our business, and gave us kind of a steroid shot.
You get so siloed when you're working in your business and you've done it for so many years.
Yeah.
You get used to the processes and what you do and you think it's working. You never want to fix what isn't broken. But I think the idea of applying for NHQ was because we had reached that point where, okay, what else is there? And if you're not growing, you're not improving. And so Mark was like, yeah, what could be a goal that will make us a better company? And he really did emphasize to our team the whole way through, this isn't about getting a gold, a silver, or a bronze. That will be nice, but this is about the process we're going through and what we're learning from and making our company better. And so, when we would get frustrated and want to throw the whole thing out sometimes when we were writing this stuff, he would remind us of that. He's like, hey, don't worry about it. Because I would say, well, we could never win if we don't do this. And he would say, that's not the point. It's not about winning. It's about, are we going to be a better company?